The Maple Leafs face another do-or-die situation. Welcome into Rink-Wide Toronto, the pregame edition, brought to you by Bodog. Make a play at Canada's choice for free casino games, sports odds, and poker strategies. And tonight, the Leafs take on the Panthers here in Game 5. They force it back here after a 2-1 victory in Sunrise, Florida in game number 4, and so they'll have the home crowd support, but home has not been where the heart is, or the wins, I should say. Only one win in the playoffs for the Toronto Maple Leafs here at Scotiabank Arena. It's been weird home-road dichotomy for teams across the league, actually, not just Toronto, but certainly they need a win tonight if they want to extend the series and go back to Florida, the Fort Lauderdale area, for game number 6. And so the Toronto Maple Leafs will be without Ilya Samsonov again, although there was some good news. He did take the ice for the first time since sustaining an upper body injury in game number 3. And so he was on the ice for quite a little bit. Didn't look too bothered, too labored, but he is unavailable for this game. It will be Joseph Woll will make his second consecutive start in goal. And of course, he made 24 saves for his first playoff victory as well. And so really the goaltender of the future looks like he's calm, cool, and collected. And so that should be a good omen for the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know, we've talked about all season long, he does meditation, he stays in the moment. It's why the team is so high on this player in terms of their potential goalie of the future. He's under contract for another year, so he will certainly be in the mix. That will help the Toronto Maple Leafs with their cap situation. Matt Murray, who's got a huge cap hit at $4.875 million for the role that he's playing right now, will back up Joseph Woll tonight. And what was also interesting yesterday is Sheldon Keefe kind of walked back some of the comments when initially he was asked about Matt Murray and if he was thinking about, or at least concerned, or not, maybe not concerned, but contemplating going with the two-time Stanley Cup champion in goal, if he considered it. He said no. Then he later, in an availability, said, you know, he wanted to walk that back a little bit. He didn't mean to be so terse in that response, and that it was just that Joseph Woll had been playing and Matt Murray had not been. Take that for what you will. I mean, the reaction does speak volumes in terms of what they think of Joseph Woll and Matt Murray, who has not played in goal since he suffered a concussion back in early April. And so Ilya Samsonov, it's good to see he's on the mend. Matthew Knies is also on the mend. It was also the first time he was on the ice since sustaining a concussion in game number 2 in this building. He did join the team and was around in Fort Lauderdale, but never took the ice. I did see him on the bike, so that's usually one of the preparatory tests to see if a player can come back from a concussion. But the fact that he's on the ice is good news, but the Toronto Maple Leafs are in a situation where, you know, even if he was cleared, which he's not, they probably wouldn't want to mess around with the lineup too much just because Game 4 was a victorious lineup. Really isn't a lot of room for error. They can't really make changes following a loss because if they lose, they're out, right? So Matthew Knies will not play in this game as well. And so other than that, there's some other storylines brewing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Of course, Auston Matthews has not scored a goal in this series, although the core 4 did have a goal in this series until game number 4 when William Nylander and Mitch Marner found the back of the net. So Auston Matthews certainly under the gun to get more goals. Sheldon Keefe was asked about it this morning, and he kind of deferred to the fact that, you know, he's doing a lot of the good things, and that's really all that matters, and the scoring can come from anywhere. He pointed, it was the second reference actually that he talked about Auston Matthews about 14 seconds into game 3 hitting the post, and had he scored in that, that probably would have set the tone for a completely different game, and we could have been tied in this series instead of the Florida Panthers going up 3-0 and then subsequently just 3-1, which is where they're in right now. Auston Matthews did have a 2-on-1 opportunity in game number 4 as well, but he missed the net. Aaron Ekblad got a piece of Matthews' follow-through on the shot, so that might have been the reason. But again, he missed, and the results are essentially what matters right now. And Auston Matthews has 5 goals in the playoffs, but none of them in this series. It's been a low-scoring series. Toronto hasn't scored more than 2 goals in any of the 4 games. It's been 2 goals apiece, and they certainly need more from that, especially when you have a core like Auston Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, and John Tavares in that regard. Luke Schenn has been a revelation for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sheldon Keefe saying that he didn't really expect from a role standpoint that Schenn would be playing as much as he has. But with Morgan Rielly, he seemed to have found chemistry. And that duo, especially with Schenn on the ice, is on for more goals for than goals against. And that's why when the Leafs did shuffle up their defense for game number 4, that was the one pair they kept intact. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you know what's not broke? The Rink Wide Toronto podcast. So we've got our post-game show as we always do. Make sure you rate and subscribe and like on all your favorite podcast platforms to Rink Wide Toronto, presented by Bodog, Canada's home for casino games and sports odds where everyone goes to play. It is Rink Wide Toronto, pre-game, post-game, every game.